All right, and we're back here today and with the lovely Stefania from all the way from Australia and myself from California coming in live here. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you listen to. I don't know where you're at, but I'm sure you're all over the world. And I'm glad here to have you again, or maybe you have me in your channel, I guess. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, happy to be here again. I know that we've been wanting to, reconvene and just chat again about so many different things that have been happening for both of us. I mean,
Yes.
there's been a lot of, changes universally, changes personally. There's been a lot going around energetically as well within
Yeah.
the collective. So I know that there's a few things that we want to talk about today that might be a little bit different to our last podcast video that we made. So, but I think it's really time to essentially delve deeper into the source of everything, maybe go down to the core of what we experience and the core of our humanity and the core of our soul essence, and essentially just discuss things that I personally feel need
Yeah.
to be discussed, things that may need to be brought to light, and things that we've personally been, maybe struggling with.
Hmm.
Maybe we've been having similar revelations. I know that there's obviously a
Yes.
lot going on, both in your life and my life as well. And I feel like connecting with each other in this way, we may be able to, bring this knowledge, wisdom, information, and light to
Hmm.
others, because that was the intention for this whole podcast.
Yeah.
It's just to bring more of this wisdom and more of this light, into the collective. So some people, it might help some people as well, like navigate these times and navigate these energies that are coming to the earth at the moment. So, yeah, with that, I want to say thank you so much again for meeting up
Yeah.
with me and having this
Thank you. Thank you.
conversation with me. And I think this time we're going to maybe change the dynamic a little bit, because I know that, I mean, I can talk a lot, I can talk for days, as you probably already know. But last time
I
it
think we all
was
know that.
last time it was mainly me speaking throughout the podcast. So yeah, we thought it might be a little bit fun to kind of reverse the roles now
Okay.
and allow me to ask you the difficult questions.
We'll do some role play. I like that. Like that. And again, well said. Like you speak so eloquent. Like it's just like again, please just this is why you're here because you just present it so well, and see like I like to just kind of like play around a little bit, and like maybe go off topic and like maybe, but you just
Mm.
bring this kind of like grounding energy, like Mother Earth, like you have that
Oh,
like,
thank you.
so yeah.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I appreciate that. Um, well, yeah, the first thing, I guess, that we should dive into, which has been things that we've been having conversations about recently as well. It's been a bit of an ongoing theme, basically surrounding the universal and earthly perspective of, the whole unity concept, right? And the whole dynamic between female feminine energy and masculine energy, and how we are able to essentially combine this energy into becoming more one with each other and feeling closer
Yes.
to one another, and not necessarily from a sexual perspective or a romantic perspective, but just as a collective species, how we can all kind of work on balancing these energies and integrating more of these energies within
Yeah.
ourselves, right? Because both men and women, I guess in the human sense, it doesn't really matter what sex you are, we both withhold and we all have these energies within us, right? Which is
Yes.
technically the basis of the yin and the yang, the twin flames. But at the end of the day, it's all within you, right?
Yes.
It's what you envelop, it's what you integrate, it's what you are able to find within yourself. And I think that's got a lot to do with the darkness and the light. And we also want to have a chat about the shadow aspect of society, the shadow aspect of ourselves, because once again, this is all part of the experience that we're all kind of going through. So, my first question to you would essentially be, what are your thoughts on the current stance of masculinity in the world? And what do you, from your perspective, what do you believe is a true masculine I guess, leadership type of role? Like, what do you believe? What is something that is missing within the masculine collective at the moment?
So I think honestly, what's missing, I would say from masculine, it's more being in touch with their with heart space, more compassion. I think has men, the first thing that we undergo is the attack to our heart, and immediately from a young age we're taught to like not have any emotions. We can't cry, we can't do this, and it blocks our ability to feel. And I think that's where the greatest power in the masculine lies, is not anywhere else, right? It's going to be within our hearts. And that is the biggest part that's missing, is that connection. And that's why we see a lot of toxic men out there just honestly just hurting women and hurting others and themselves, is because of that. And I think that's a good way to start, I would say. Um, it goes deep. There's a lot of trauma, right? From parents or from partners. And a lot of men are not taught to even process this ever. There's a lot of them that just go all their lives without even, I mean, like they're so blocked off. They're just so blocked off, right? So that's what needs healing, is a heart space for men.
I also find that there's a lot of programming in the collective, once again, not just aimed towards men, but women as well. But in regards to the programming that happens, in Hollywood and movies, the media, and
Hmm.
even social media, there's a lot of this like alpha male programming, a lot of this
Oh
ego
yeah,
programming
big time.
surrounding money, surrounding sex, surrounding lust. So, like these are all things that I believe men are constantly battling as well, because it's something that
Yes.
is technically always being programmed, right, within into your minds and into your brains. And so a lot of men, I believe, don't feel like they are worthy unless they have, ABC in materialism, or they don't feel like they're good enough, or they just sort of have like this a lot of pent up frustration and anger. And this is kind of like how I feel in my masculine energy, but also how what I see in other men as well is that a lot of them are like internally angry and internally frustrated because, like you said, they haven't really been given the ability to fully express themselves in a completely safe environment, because there's all these things that are technically working against your favor, right? So I also wanted to ask as well, what are some of the methods or some of the things that you practice or that you've realized within your own journey that has helped you connect more to your heart space and be more in like your healthy masculine energy?
A big question, actually. It's not a straightforward answer. It requires a lot of inner work as a man, and that takes a lot of accountability. Because a lot of times, we have to take charge of our own faults, and a lot of men don't do that. They don't want to admit them. They don't want to even look at them, right? And that's the first part. It's just admitting all your wrongs and all the things that you went through in life, and also find that kind of like forgiveness, right? If you were hurt by, parents or, girlfriends, whatever, wives, it really takes so much. It's not just one day you just wake up and be like, okay, like I'm great. Like it takes a lot. It takes a lot of awareness. And the biggest catalyst, I would say, is wanting to change. Because I feel like for me at least, I think, and maybe I'm different, I'm not sure, right? My catalysts were relationships, like women, right, in my life, and finding that love for women, regardless of what happened, was the biggest like stepping stone for me. Because a lot of us, and it goes for both men and women, right? I mean, like something happens in a relationship, like we're like always kind of like, oh, like screw this person, and we like don't talk to them, and like right? And to me is I was like, I don't want to do that. If I loved you once, I'll always love you again, kind of thing. And
Mm.
and finding that unconditional love for that person, right? No matter what. And then because at the end of the day, like the way I see it is like, and is probably going a little far out there, but like I don't see romantic love anymore like how I used to, right? Um, and that has helped me a lot to release like certain mind prisons, right? Of my expectations, right? So I mean, like I said, this is like a long conversation, but like point is like you're gonna like as a man, I think if you love someone, I think that's your reason to change and want to kind of look inside and like do the inner work. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question in a very long but simple way is like you're gonna have to want it.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, personally, I believe that always comes down to the self as well, because you can only really express the love and the compassion and the empathy and the understanding for another when you've already expressed that with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And this is also something that has been like a powerful catalyst in my life where I've developed the ability to be able to just see people and understand them and accept them for who they are, even people that are acting, for example, out of integrity, or someone that may be acting on, a lot from their lower ego and things like that, and more like primitive senses. It's like you understand that they are being that way from their own programming and from their own trauma and from how their life has essentially unfolded for them. But then you also
Mhm.
understand that that person also has the complete power in their hands and the free will choice and capability to become better, and be a better person and take
Yeah.
charge of their life and take control of who they want to be. But once again, it's really, really hard, like you need to actually really, really want it. And you need to also, it has to be born from self-love as well, because then when
Right.
you birth that from self-love and from self-compassion, you're then able to have compassion for everybody else. And then you can make a decision whether to accept this person as they are, or essentially let them go. And this is, I believe, where surrender comes in, and where the path of less resistance comes in, because
Yeah.
we have the option to have people in our lives as much as we have the option to not have them. But it comes down to romantic love has to be born from unconditional love of self, in my opinion, and it has to also be withheld by the other person as much as
That's a
well.
big ask. That's a big ask. Like you can't just tell you can't just wake up and like one day be like, "Hey, can you like love yourself so I can love you?" Like that's not
No,
that's a yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like for me, like real love is unconditional,
Right.
like and like you said, it doesn't even need to be in a romantic scenario. Like you can still love people unconditionally and choose to have them in your life, but you can't ask expectations from somebody because it's unrealistic, because they have to actually understand that and have
Yeah.
incorporated those lessons and that wisdom themselves. So it's almost like you have to constantly choose, you know what I mean, the people that you have in your life, and just like, and it also comes to like healing one another, you know what I mean? Because like I was saying to you the other day, like nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Everybody is growing. We're all in like completely different journeys and stages of our lives. But what it comes down to is, are you able to love this person unconditionally the way that they are and help them grow, nurture them, assist them to change?
But see,
Obviously by them having the want or the
yeah.
action to change. There's a difference between being a martyr or being like trying to heal somebody or fix somebody
Yeah.
that doesn't want to be healed or fixed. It has to be a mutual understanding, and I feel like that's what brings us closer to people as well.
But see, that's the thing. Like I think the biggest sense and perspective of unconditional love is letting go of someone.
Mm,
You know,
that too. Yeah.
because I think like you're saying like you want to assist a person, you know, you love them. That's great and all, but that won't
Mhm.
work if they don't want to do it. Like do that work. You know what I'm saying? Like again, it comes
Mhm.
back to what I said.
Yeah.
Like they gonna have to want that, right? You can't
Mhm.
even walk them that way if they don't want to go that way. So like
Mm-hmm.
the most and the hardest part to understand is that letting go part, right?
Mm. 1,000
Um,
percent, yeah. And that's also with like incorporating spiritual boundaries, or just boundaries in general, and spiritual hygiene as well, in most cases, which is one of the things that I really loved, once again, about the freedom teachings that Michael used to talk about a lot is spiritual hygiene, because
yeah.
that also involves the people that you have in your life, the energies that you surround yourself with, the conversations that you have, the experiences that you have, the things that you do. Um, and a lot of that involves the people in your life. You know what I mean? Like at the same
Hmm.
time, you also want people in your life that are going to want the best for you and that are going to also care about you the way that you care for them. And one of the
Yeah.
most toxic things, the most toxic thing that I grew up with in many of my friends when I was probably in my early 20s is, at this stage, obviously I wasn't awakened yet. I wasn't a spiritual person. I was very much 3D, just living a very normal life. But I remember there was one thing in common within my friend groups, that whenever something bad would happen or I would go through a breakup, the first thing that all of my friends said is, oh, fuck it, let's just go out and drink and, do
Mm.
drugs and party it away. Or, oh, fuck it, just go sleep with somebody else,
Mm.
just find somebody else. And, like these are the toxic patterns and things that were projected towards me. And so I went through this loop in my early 20s of just completely always, putting a band-aid over things or just moving on to the next thing. And I never realized that I wasn't loving myself, and therefore people around me weren't loving me because they also didn't love themselves. So it was like this weird karmic loop of toxicity. And that made
Yeah.
me realize that's also how you know that somebody doesn't really love you unconditionally, because a person that actually loves you and cares for you genuinely, they want the best for you, and the advice would be different, and like I look at that, the people in my life now, and the people in my life now have completely different views of reality and
Mm.
perceptions, and the advice is completely different. The advice is nurturing, it's positive,
Yeah.
it's more evolved than the advice that I used to have from these people that were technically like not working on themselves and or unhealed and didn't really have that unconditional love for themselves, and there's so much obviously involved within that. But I also wanted to ask you as well on your perspective on women and how
Okay.
you view the feminine kind of energy at the moment. You can be honest. This is a safe space.
I would say chaotic. That's
Mm,
probably the best term. And but it's not your fault. It's not your guys' fault. It's just right now that's a lot of toss-up energy like coming around, a lot of past trauma that has not been resolved. And that's just creating this like weird dynamic right now between both energies because both have
mm,
unhealed trauma. So a lot of people, and because of what's happening right now, and like these energies like really increasing and like whatever, it's triggering that because it needs to come up and heal, right?
mm,
And this can come up in all kinds of connections, in all sorts of ways. Um, and I think that it's important not to get too lost in the sauce, right? And the illusion of things. Because like last week, right? Last week, I feel like there was a lot of energies coming about like that kind of stuff with like relationships and stuff and women and men. And I think for a second, I almost kind of like got tossed in there a little bit because um it just kind of like went back to I guess something that I'm still like kind of like I guess working on, right? As far as like let me see. For a lot of men, we go through a lot of rejection and a lot like let's say like I know men that have lost their wives, right? They got left, like and it sucks, right? And that leads to a lot of trauma in men, and we then start to kind of like close off a little bit.
mm,
However, like here's the thing, like we still need women. Like that's the thing, right? Like we want and need women. And I'll admit that we do need women. I think, and honestly, women are incredible creatures, in my opinion. They're very intuitive. They really just provide that like groundwork to co-create together. And without women, we can't do that. Like we're great at certain things, but we to be whole, we need women, right? So
Mm.
sometimes that leads us to kind of like seek attention in all kinds of ways and create our little loops of illusions and not the most healthiest way, right? I think that it's not coming from a legit space within us. It's just more of a need. And when I realized that loop last week, I was like, well, like, what am I what am I doing? Like, what am I looking for? Right? Like, I don't know, like it's still something I'm integrating a little bit, but I feel like the right person will come at the right time, kind of thing, right? So, but anyway,
Absolutely, yeah.
I think, and then you know what? I also want to talk about one thing too as well, actually. That you were like talking
Mm.
about all this stuff. One thing that I don't really believe sometimes, and it's the whole twin flame thing. Okay.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I have to, go into this a little bit because I thought I had one as well, right?
Mm.
And it didn't work out. And trust me, like I was like so convinced, right? It was like, same
Mhm.
interests and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't work out. Sometimes
Mm.
I think, and it's not because of that, I don't believe in it. The reason why I don't believe in it is because I feel like a lot of people trap themselves
Mm.
and that twin flame like illusion, right? And sometimes it's really
As
toxic.
you're saying this, it's 12-12, by the way.
Oh, oh wow, it is. Yeah, 12. Nice.
It's 12
And
12 for me.
yeah, it's good. See, like it's like bringing in like the actual energies, right, to like
Yeah.
heal. So like I was saying, like it creates this really like false illusion of love, and it's very toxic.
Mm.
It's very
Mm-hmm.
toxic. Like there's like
Yeah.
a dynamic in the whole twin flame thing, like the whole runner aspect, right? Where like one person leaves a relationship and like
Mm.
it and I don't know if you've gone through that like rabbit hole of like twin flame stuff, but it
Mm.
essentially like tells you, hey, this person is running away for a bit because they have to find themselves or whatever. And once they do, they'll come back to you, kind of thing, right? And right, and it's like what? And then the person
It's really
who's
toxic.
and very
Yeah.
toxic.
And you know what? Like I did discover that that was very like toxic, like new age spiritual concept.
Yeah.
I believe once again, out of the many programs that we already know are running through the spiritual paradigms and throughout New Age and everything like that, I do believe that the twin flame thing has been misrepresented to
Hmm.
what the actual true core of
Yeah.
the concept and the energy is. And the reason why I use the word twinning or the twin flame thing is because I've come to realize after that vision that I told you I had, which I don't want to share publicly, is that it was shown to me in a way where these are like two combined energies within our own selves, which is technically like the integration
Yeah.
and the marrying of the darkness and the light within ourselves, within the shadow and the light aspect of ourselves, and that coming together and creating like that balance within our own selves. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of like those two energies that meet and spark the twin flames within yourself, that enables you to completely understand and integrate your shadow aspect, but also then completely understand and integrate the light aspect of yourself, which actually creates the balance that you need in order to navigate yourself spiritually. Like people who are on the ascension journey or the spiritual journey or ascension, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? I just think that that's the evolution
Hmm.
uh, of mainly integrating both of these energies and being able to bring them into your body. It's like I don't think that we're really going anywhere. I don't think that we're like going up any dimensions. I actually just feel like all of the energies coming into us, both
Yeah.
and both the darkness and all of the light. Because if you think about it, This is the analogy that I kind of imagine in my mind is like imagine walking into a dark room and not having any sight. In the room, there might be like, I don't know, a fridge, a chair, a coffee table. When the
Hmm.
light is off, you can't see it. But when you turn the light on, you're able to view all of the objects. And that's literally the analogy that I use towards shadow work as well. It's like with shadow work, it literally is basically unveiling parts of yourself that are hidden. And
Yeah.
it's about seeing the things that you're keeping there, or the things that are stagnant, the things that you're holding inside of you, the things that you're
Yeah.
hiding from. Like you got to turn the light on, and then you'll have a clear vision of what you need to work on and what you need to move around in order to create that safe space for you. So that's how I view the twinning now. It's technically just the war inside of ourselves. It's the light and the darkness that needs to be integrated. Because then if you go on the other side of, being too much in the light or being too love and light and airy fairy, then you're completely denying, what's behind your own shadow. So therefore you're not integrating anything because you're staying in a sort of like ignorant bliss mind state, which is also what many spiritualists are doing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're like very much in their crown and very much in like the higher centers where they're disconnected from their grounding cord. They're
Yeah.
disconnected from their root chakra, their sacral, their solar plexus, which is the core energy that is actually quite powerful because that enables you um, to stabilize yourself and be balanced and grounded in the earth experience, and not in airy fairyland all the time. So that's
Hmm.
my view and opinion on what the real twinning process is. It's not about somebody else, it's always about you.
Yeah. But like, so going back to the twin flame though, like in a sense, like what is a twin flame really? Like what, I mean, because look, this is the hottest conversation. It's like between two people, right? Relationships and all that. It's a big conversation. What is a twin flame in the perspective that we understand it now, as far as like couple wise? What makes someone a twin flame?
That's the thing. I don't think it's about another person. Like I used to
Hmm.
believe in it, but I don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's ever about anything outside of us. I don't think it's about another entity or another person, male or female. I think that it's always about you and loving
Hmm.
yourself and finding yourself and creating this balance within yourself. Do I believe in soulmates? I do believe in soulmates. I
Yeah.
believe that there are souls that are complementary to each other. And complementary is a big factor there as well. And when people say like opposites attract and things like that, I also
Yeah.
believe that too, because even with the twin flame concept, they say that it's like, that it's you in another body, and that it's like, they basically say that it's you in another body, like the same soul,
Yeah.
same everything, right? But if you think about it, in hindsight, isn't that fucking boring? Like, in with the way that I see it now,
Yeah.
yeah, like I feel like the people that work the best, or the couples that work the best, are the ones that challenge each other and become a catalyst for each other's growth.
Right. Not
And
exactly
that
like
normally requires,
opposites. Yeah, I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead. That's it.
Oh,
Like not
sorry.
exactly opposites, right? Like it's more like
Mm,
complementary energies, right?
yes.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
what I believe. But no, the twin flame concept, I agree with you. I think it's a spiritual trap. Once again, a lot of people are going to get triggered by this. And, irregardless, if people want to believe that they have a twin flame, or if they're with their twin flame, that's amazing. Good for you. I know a lot of people who believe that there are twin flames who are in very happy relationships. If that works for you, great. But there's a very, very, very toxic negative side to it, where there's people, like you said, in these
Yeah.
toxic, like chaser runner relationships that just doesn't. Can you imagine how much trauma, mental frustration, and sadness and grievance that's causing for so many people? It's honestly horrible. And once again, I don't think it's healthy. And I think I've said this to you before as well.
Yeah.
Something that came to me a long time ago is true love is reciprocal. Like
Right.
you can't
Yes.
believe that somebody, and you said this to me too, like you can't possibly believe that somebody is your twin flame, or that somebody is your divine equal or your partner, if they are not reciprocal in the love, like it's not, love is not one-sided, not true type of romantic love. I think that it's
No.
both parties equally sharing this energy of love, passion, romance, and that's when you know it's
Yes.
true. And the twin flame thing actually feeds that energy of abandonment, of loss, of unworthiness. It's fucked.
So, and great point, because that's where I'm heading at right now. It's like, so this is the way I view romantic love now. Romantic love, like we all try to find the one, right? And it's like the true love story, but that's not entirely true here. And at least here, right? At least here.
Mhm.
Relationships, a lot of times, many times, um, they're for growth. They reflect to us what we need to work on. I think the biggest shadow work is a relationship sometimes. Because it shows us the ugly parts of ourselves that we wouldn't otherwise know we have or are projecting or whatever, unless that person, did the same for you, right? And relationships is the way that is the main way that we grow and learn in this world.
Mhm.
That's what
I agree.
that's what they are. Um, we're supposed to learn from them and grow from them and become better, right? And each step of the way, then we embody, true love, right? Unconditional love. Because for us, it's still very hard to understand that. Like what I mean, we can say we kind of know what it is, right? But we don't really know and how to like become it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that's why when I realized that after like my first marriage, right? And I realized all the things that I've learned from it and why it happened and that it was meant to happen that way. That's when I released myself from all the guilt and all the bullshit from it. And that's when I like grew and I was like, okay, like I understand why I went through that. Right. And obviously it's like it's not to say that you don't treat like your next relationship with like, that romantic love, right? But it's more like you understand the purpose behind your relationship kind of thing, right? Um, and what I believe is that eventually we get to a point, hopefully it won't take too long, right? But we get to a point that we learn a lot enough to understand what love is, and we attract that same person in our lives, and then we can really have a real relationship with someone because a real relationship takes a whole lot. Like
Mhm.
it, your ego must be like not even there much because love is about the other and the self together, right?
Mhm.
So it's a really deep thing to understand, but once you come to understand it, it's very beautiful. Like I truly believe
Mhm.
in that.
Yeah,
um
I agree. And I mean, I think everything is a stage that we all must go through. How
yeah
I mentioned like my toxic friendships in my early 20s. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have been able to find real friendships. I wouldn't have been able to contrast and see the difference between what a real friend, a real loving friend would do compared to someone that doesn't have your best interests at heart. So,
yeah
like you said, I feel like it's all a journey. Like you went through this marriage and you had this relationship with this woman and she taught you a lot, you know what I mean, deep down, because everybody, like even the bad characters in our lives or the evil ones or the narcissistic ones, whatever, like they all still play a role in the greater realization of self. You know
yes
what I
yeah
mean? Because
yeah
they teach us what we don't want, and they
hmm
help us navigate and learn what we actually do want and what we do need. And I
correct
think that everything is necessary, and we kind of have to go through these experiences in order to find more of ourselves. But like you said, I honestly I believe in true love as well. I believe that anybody can find true love, but it takes so much work. It takes so much shadow work. It takes so much self-realization, self-acceptance, the ability to step out of your ego, heal your traumas so you don't project them. Like there's so many things involved. But I don't know if you went through this as well, but there was a big time within my spiritual journey after my awakening where
Hmm.
I completely isolated myself for like 6 months. I think I told you about this. And I went through my detox and everything. And like I didn't speak to anybody. Like I was celibate. I was like just
Right.
focused on like detoxing, spirituality. But at the same time, I was so isolated. And I remember like those 6 months, I was like probably the happiest I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then when I came out of that, my higher self was like, well, the real lesson is to actually be out in the world and meeting people and connecting with people and being able to hold this frequency
Yeah.
of love, joy, happiness, and being able to hold yourself within chaos or within any other personality types. And that was like the biggest thing for me because it is so hard because like you said, people are there to trigger you and people are there to show you things. And it's how
Yeah.
you deal with it, how you understand it. So the biggest lesson isn't even like spirituality or, isolation or anything like that. It's actually incorporating all of these experiences and lessons,
Yes.
and realizations and actually going out into society and actually integrating them. And it's hard, like it's really, really hard,
And
just
that
being
brings
a
up a
part of
good
everything.
point. It brings up a good point. And I'm so sorry to like interrupt.
No, no, no,
And
I was finished.
I think to go back to like what you asked me about, like, something to kind of like something for men so they can, kind of like work on, right? Like one thing that I do, like that I've been doing after relationships is like taking a break. And because it's so easy to just kind of like bounce to another woman, sleep with her, whatever, and like just kind of keep it going, right? But it's like I purposely, not because I'm hurt or anything, just I purposely want to sit with myself, to again regroup with my energy, find again who this person is within me again, reevaluate my life, myself, my person, and find love for myself in that space. And I mean, I truly enjoy my own space. Like I could be alone and have like the greatest time of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I find all my hidden talents, all my interests, likes. I connect. I actually like by doing that practice, I actually connect with people in a more genuine way, right? Like even this conversation, came about because of that. Because it's like when you stop looking is when you start finding, right? And
Yes, I love
that's
that.
yeah, so like that's and I see that unfold in my life, and it's like truly magical. And that's why I'm not worried too much about like, oh, am I gonna find someone else or am I gonna, like I release all expectations, I release them, and I go with my path and how it unfolds, and see what the universe has for me. But as long as I stand in my power and also act in a genuine, authentic way, and I find that within myself, I'll be fine. Right.
Mhm.
And that's why this conversation is part of that. So like it's like even this is like a miracle because like again, if I were out there, getting drunk or meeting women, or whatever, and holding grudges with my last relationship, like I wouldn't be here right now. And I think for all men
Mm.
watching, like you need to sit with yourself. That's like first and foremost. Like you need to like the person you're with, right? Or else like if you don't know even that who that person is, like how are you gonna offer yourself to a woman, you know?
Mm.
So
And
like
it works vice versa as well for women, but it also comes down to the fact that yeah, if it takes sitting with yourself, it takes knowing yourself, it takes meditation to actually figure out who even you are.
right,
Because I mean, let's be real, like a high percentage, probably like close to I would say the 80% of society from my perspective in Australia, these aren't real statistics, but these are just like what I view in society in general is like I see so many relationships that are literally based on ego, they're based on lust, based on
lust,
fear,
yeah,
based on like continuously taking from each other or using the other person for whatever
Yeah.
reason. And it's actually quite rare to meet couples where because we're quite intuitive, like when someone's in love. And I have seen couples before where I've just been in public and I've seen the dynamic, I've seen the love and whether they look at each other and it's mesmerizing and you're just like, whoa, they are in love. And you just know it, like there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
PDA all the way. They're just like macking it out in the
It's just
street.
it's like it's an energy. It's like it's an energy. It's a light that they have about them, and that's how
Yeah.
you know that it's real love. And then there's another on the other hand of it, I also see in society like all these couples that are based on like those fear principles, and that's honestly because of the fact that we haven't gotten to know ourselves, that we haven't done the inner work, that we haven't done the shadow work. So most people are constantly seeking validation or seeking other people because they don't want to be lonely. They don't want to be alone. They believe that they're not worthy of something different. They believe that they're not worthy of something better. So they either settle or they go for someone that's going to just like feed their ego or give them something that
Yes.
they believe they can't give themselves. And I think that it all comes down to what you said is just stepping back, creating that solitude for yourself so you can find
Yes.
yourself and then go out into society. And that's essentially how manifestation works as well, is like completely letting go. It's like if you're a manifestor and you know what you want, you think it, you're going to get it because you know that it's part of your path, or that's exactly what you want. And then you just allow the energy and the universe to do the rest. You know what I mean? Like once you take action, that's all you need. You know what I mean? But if you're trying to manifest something, you're not taking action upon it, like, oh, I want to get fit and I want to have the best body, and you're not going to the gym every day, then what do you think is going to happen? You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not just so it's all like action and consequence. It all works in conjunction.
Sitting by yourself with yourself is the hardest shadow work for a lot of people. And
Mm,
when it comes to, also like relationship wise, I mean, the truth is nobody wants to be by themselves. Like we all need each other somehow. Like we like that. We enjoy that. It's natural to us to connect, right? And,
mm,
same with like the whole women and men dynamic. Like women want to be like they need that from the men, right? And a lot of times you see like men, again, if they're like in their toxic, energy, like they do the opposite. They, instead of like actually, embracing the woman, they push her away. They seek multiple women, right? Or, like,
mm,
and it comes to the dynamic again, and then it comes to this like toxic loop, right? Because then women like feel like they're not enough, right? And then they succumb to like, oh, is it my looks, is it this and that? And then it's really like society right now is just a big just toxic cluster mess.
mm,
And you know I think it really starts, I mean, with both, but first men, first men,
mm.
right? I
Yeah.
think as men, we owe women a big respect. And we come from women, right? We're born from women, right? So it's like, the
That's
mother
hilarious.
plays a huge
True.
role. Yeah, like the mother plays a huge role in our lives, and we owe it to them, right? We owe it to them.
Mm,
And again, and also, you don't know if that man, whoever had a bad childhood. Maybe like the mom wasn't there, right? Right. It's a lot of dynamic stuff, like, but essentially, like, I feel like as men, we have to take the lead. If we
mm,
want our women to show up better, right?
mm,
Because they're just reacting to us. They're reflecting back to us a lot.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I see a lot of men growing and seeing this slowly, right? But
mm,
again, it's not easy. And it requires, and
mm,
sometimes it takes a lot of heartbreak, relationships,
mm.
right? So again, it goes,
Like I've actually
yeah,
seen, I'm not sure if this is because I'm manifesting it or because we've been speaking about it, but I have
yeah,
seen a lot of videos, especially on TikTok and random reels as well, that I think I posted one last night, about men, speaking about like breath work, speaking about meditation, speaking about sitting in silence. And I'm starting to see more men speaking out as well. And honestly, like it makes me so happy. Like it's so healing for me.
yeah.
Honestly, like it touches my heart, like as a woman, to hear a man speaking that way and being in his power and healing and making the
Yeah.
effort. Like it's so healing because it's true. I feel like there's a very big part of us, maybe subconsciously, I don't know, where we do look towards men for guidance in a way, for like guidance and protection and leadership. Because then when we receive that energy, we are then able to relax in our nervous systems. We're able to relax in
Yes.
our bodies. We're able to feel safe. We're able to feel nurtured. And
Surrender, you know?
look, yeah, surrender. And look, I'm not like blaming the man or blaming the woman. I actually think it's like we've all collectively done this to ourselves from toxic patterns. But honestly, I do blame the social programming because if you look at the movies, like the women are overly sexualized, this OnlyFans thing, like
Yeah.
this feminist movements, hacking our energies in that way. You know what I mean? It's like they're trying to break us apart. They're trying to separate us.
Yes.
They're trying to completely reverse the woman role in on
Correct.
Earth. And they're
Yeah.
trying to reverse the masculine role. And that's making all of us confused. And that's something that I see all the time. And I pick up on it because they're doing that on purpose. Because, like you said, we are co-creators together and we help
Yes.
each other and we need each other. Like we need men and as much as you need
And
us.
yeah, like we need women. Like we really do. Okay. And I'll
Mm.
admit that again. Like I don't have an issue with that. And I feel like you're right on target with that. Like we are being essentially attacked because the unity between men and women is essentially the the purpose. Like that's the strong
It's the
point. Like
force.
it's the force right there. Like that, if you have that in harmony, like everything's like that's it, like game over kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And this is kind of like what I really want to manifest and why I wanted to have a chat with you about this because I can feel like that subtle power behind it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I haven't really fully experienced it, if I'm being honest with you, but I know that we
Yeah.
have the capability to do this and I know that we can do it. And it's like frustrating because you see so many people going the opposite way, and you're just like, guys, like it's so simple. Like it literally comes down to us. Like we need to
Yeah.
heal and we need to like join and come together and like help each other. Like we all need fucking help,
Yeah, we
Like
do. Yeah.
not just the men, it's not just the women. We all need help and we all need to help each other.
Because once we like really come together in a harmonious way with a divine love, right? Like we can co-create like beautiful, like really powerful stuff, in the world,
Mm,
make real change.
mm,
And that's what, they're trying to do, just trying to separate us, trying to like put illusions, separate us and fight and this and that and confuse us. And like again, like the roles are so switched. Like nowadays, like women like are so independent, which is great. Like, I mean, I do admire strong women, right? As far as like someone who stands in her power, right? And knows like where she's standing at kind of thing, right? But honestly, like in the dynamic, we are the protectors. We're the ones like because like look, like the way I see it is like the woman, it's like a diamond, right? It's like a diamond. And she's shining, she has power, beautiful and everything. And our role is to make sure that she doesn't get like messed with. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to make sure that she's protected, right? Like like protecting Mother Earth, right? We encapsulate her, we take care of her, protect her, and then she'll give, right? And then that's what I feel like. But then like the woman has to also surrender to that because she has to give in her power to the
mm,
man a little bit because
mm.
that's what they're for. Like it just makes sense, right? So there's a lot of stuff out there that I think people don't realize and they're having a hard time doing.
Mm.
Because a lot of men aren't protectors, right? They're the opposite, right? They're the ones harming
Yeah.
women, right? And I mean, we've talked about this in the last couple of days. Like, I mean, even whether it be romantic or not romantic, in the workplace or whatever, like some men are just they're predators, right? And they're doing the opposite,
Mm.
So I mean, and that's what I'm here to just to call out essentially. Like all this bullshit,
Yeah.
it needs to stop. Honestly.
Mm.
Yeah. So like the whole sugar day thing is like definitely like a toxic like rabbit hole. Not
Mm.
rabbit hole, but it's like it comes to a point where it's like that's like the product, right? But where it starts
Mm.
from is the lack of a provider, So like when they were growing up,
Mm,
their father wasn't the provider, maybe they weren't in their lives. And having a father, right? Like, I mean, it's a big deal, right? Because the father is the one that essentially, again, is the protector of the family, and if the children don't have that in their lives, especially the daughters, it instills it kind of creates this void inside of them, right?
mm,
And when they grow up and start relating to like, men, they seek that provider in a sense. Now,
mm,
obviously, like the whole sugar daddy thing, I mean, it's already pretty toxic, but it starts off that way,
mm.
seeking a
But
provider
it's
and
weird as well
them not
because
finding
honestly,
providers, right? And when they find
yeah.
providers, and when they find providers, they're toxic providers, right? They're like, hey,
Mm,
yeah, I got money, I got a house, whatever, but however, like, what's in it for me, right? What's the
mm.
transaction? And again, so like, and then that's just kind of just it's done after that, right?
Mm. But
So,
it's I was going to say it's all based on like false sense of power and ego because the
yeah,
women feel empowered by that. There's so many women that feel empowered on an ego level from taking money from the men and it being so easy, and they don't even realize that they're giving away like their divine spark and sexual energy to, like you said, this transaction. And the men also feel empowered because they hold the power and they hold the money, and they know that deep down there's all these women that will literally do whatever they want in
yeah,
order to have this transaction of monetary value. So it's like a weird ego power play as well. Like, yes, it probably potentially comes from daddy trauma and or their lack thereof, but it's actually like an egotistical, narcissistic power play that they're both indulging in as well. So
yes.
there's a few different perspectives.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there's a whole lot in there. It's not
Yeah.
just one easy answer, but it comes to a point where, if you don't do the work, it's just, you're going to snowball into like a shithole of like your life. And, it's going to be just completely just messed up. Right. And you're going to be in a world of pain and suffering all your life because you're perpetuating this really toxic illusion, you know? So, um, so tell me, from the woman perspective now, like, what's something that you can kind of like, you can say, give an advice to women that are struggling with maybe with the men, and what have you done, right, to overcome that, whatever that may have been for you? What can you tell our women?
So personally, I think that there was a lot of shadow work involved. I mean, there's a lot of things that are still coming up for me in regards to, yeah, like my childhood, my upbringing, people that I've dated, men that I've dated as well. And I've had to really, really dig deep and look at every single facet of my life and
Mm,
my own programs, and like, that I love talking about programs because I feel like I'm very in tune and aware of my own programs. And I've listened to my mind before and like heard my thoughts and everything like that. And sometimes you pinpoint things that have to do with like negative self-talk or limiting beliefs, you know what I mean? And so now I've kind of become like a better transmuter or alchemizer of those thoughts and of those feelings, you know what I mean? And made it into like a more empowering base, but it's all born from love, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because the way that I see it now and relating to my inner child, it's like if I had a child or if I had if I had a son or a daughter, it's like
Mm,
how would I treat them? What would I want for them? Like what kind of lessons, what kind of nurturing, what kind of upbringing would I want for my child? And so I try to sometimes play around with like third person perspective of like, looking at that little girl that was 6 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, and wanting to give her what she didn't have. And so now I try to give myself the things that I maybe didn't have growing up, which could have been so many different things. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go deep into that because it's very private, but
Right,
I
right.
just think that sometimes you have to treat yourself how you would treat another that you really, really love. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it all comes down to self-love. And as a woman, when you harness that power of self-love, when you harness that power of the divine feminine, that comes with a lot of responsibility. And one of those responsibilities is respecting your body, loving your body the way that it is, loving yourself the way that you are, respecting yourself, honoring the
Yeah,
womb. Like the womb is a really big thing because that's where, like you said, the womb is literally like a portal. It's like a
portal.
creation aspect, right? It's like we
Yeah,
are able to create humans and bring them into the world, and it's like such a powerful center. So yeah, like celibacy, celibacy really
yeah.
helped me in that way as well, and harnessing my sexual energy, um,
Well,
breath work.
now that you say that, so here's what I believe is this: is that men, like, our power center is in the heart. That's our power center. When we get in touch with it, that's it. Right? For women, it's the womb because they're a portal, right? They are the
Mm,
creative fountain. Okay.
mm,
And because society will tell men, oh, like, your power center is like not there at all, right? It's somewhere else.
mm,
And then the woman's like so soft, and she's like the level, like the one that's like loving, and like the one like the heart, she's like they're teaching that the woman, her power is the heart, right? But it's the opposite. Like, men
mm,
is the heart, woman is the womb. And when we take control
mm,
of that, that's when we really just hone into our power big time. Um,
mm.
and that's
That's
why
interesting.
when you're
Yeah.
when you're saying that about like self-respect and all that, a big theme I would say from just reflecting, right, to like the women, it's like
Mm,
self-worth, right? Like,
mm.
that's the biggest theme for women sometimes, is knowing their self-worth. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of women who are embodying that, and like I do have to obviously pay respect and I guess shout out to the women who are doing that because I have seen progressively a lot of women change. I mean, like from my history and what I used to do and the experiences that I had, I very much once again perpetuated that trauma, and
yeah.
I used my looks to my advantage. I did all this. I was in toxic industries and things like working in toxic industries like the modeling industry, and obviously about all the rest of the
Yeah.
stuff. And
But you wouldn't
like
be here without that though. Like,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
I've experienced both sides and I've been on both ends. So, like I'm not being a hypocrite about this and saying like, oh, like all women are disrespecting themselves and all women are doing this and that. It's like, no, they're not all doing that. There's a lot that are healing from that. And because I know that we can heal from that because I healed from that. And
Yes.
it was hard, and it is hard. It is really, really
Yes.
hard to find your power. It is really hard to heal your womb. It is hard to heal all of those scars and wounds that were left from men, from relationships, from our fathers, whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But at the end of the day, you can't blame people, like you can't blame the world for doing those things to you because you have the power to change them. And
Yeah.
as women, we are powerful and we do have the ability to create boundaries with men. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And when you create boundaries with men, when you create boundaries with yourself, when you love, respect, and honor your body, you'll
Yes.
start to see things shifting around you and you'll start to
Yes.
attract better men like like yourself. Like you're one of the men in my life who I highly respect, who I
Thank
believe is
you.
like a genuinely a good person. You know what I
Thank you.
mean? Like you are a divine masculine energy, and I know many other guys like not many, but I know quite a few that are stepping into their masculine energy.
Yeah.
And, I feel like the more of us that are able to create the change, the more that's just going to create like ripples, hopefully create ripples, on in society and on earth
Yeah.
for others to do the same because
Yeah.
it's a good place to be. Like, it's happy, like it's a happy place, and I want that for other people as well. And like I want to help other people get there as well.
And I like how you said boundaries, and that's very important for, I mean, even for men, right? But for women, big time. And I think that if a man, really honors you, or right, whatever, loves you, they will understand boundaries and they will respect it and embrace your that within you, right? And I feel like um also like it's not, I think like I say, we're not perfect, right? And I think we all had made mistakes and we did things in our lives. And we shouldn't hold each other to that or judge anyone to that, right? And we should just see where we're at right now and where we're going and kind of hold that space for each other, right? We're not like I think one thing I like to say is like yeah, we're not perfect, but I like to think that we are perfect in the human sense, right? Which is like we're not
Mhm.
perfect. So
Yeah.
we're perfectly imperfect, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean yeah, don't stop I don't care where you've been, I just want to know that where you're at right now and if you learned, right? And
Mm,
where you want to go after that. And that's
mm,
what matters. And
yeah.
both and the journey of both feminine and masculine, right?
Mm. I think it's also like the communication aspect and the ability to
Oh yes.
kind of detach from your ego and, for example, have the hard conversations with people. Like, I mean, I have tough conversations with my friends all the time, and they have the tough conversations with me as well,
Yeah.
because we enable sometimes we can't see certain aspects of ourselves that might be acting from ego or acting from the shadow or acting
Yeah.
from like our primitive desires and things like that. And I mean, I have my friends check me all the time if I'm doing something that's technically not in my highest interest, or that, because sometimes you can't see these parts about yourself, and I think that's so
Right.
valuable. And it's about kind of just like stepping back and being humble and stepping away from your ego and listening to somebody that genuinely cares about you, that wants the best for you, and understanding where they're
Yes.
coming from as well. Because some people in relationships, they get really defensive, like you said, and people just get triggered and they just
Yeah.
like, they get pissed off and then you blah, blah, blah. And then
Yeah.
in their ego and they're in the resistance and they're holding on like this because they're so frustrated that you're telling them the
Yes.
truth. So it's about kind of just like taking a breath and, sitting back and thinking, hey, this person loves me and they're genuinely trying to help me and they are actually like making some good points about this.
Yeah.
um how can I take this information and incorporate it into my life for growth? Because I feel like everybody has everyone has a story, everybody has wisdom, everybody has knowledge. And I think that it's about just viewing
Yeah.
it from like all perspectives and understanding that this is also part of reality. It's not about having tunnel vision and being like stubborn and thinking, I'm right, I'm
Yeah.
right, I'm wrong, because we are
Yeah.
wrong all the time.
Oh yeah. And sometimes, like source universe, right? Like they can talk through people, right? And if you listen carefully, like you'll know. You'll know. And
Mm,
you have to like not be in the way of yourself, right?
hmm
And then sometimes hearing that hard conversation is tough. Sometimes it upsets you. You don't want to hear that, right? You don't like to hear that. But it's
mm.
like, well, why are you getting upset? Like why like what's triggering you, right? And then going,
Exactly. And it's
yeah,
always the triggers.
yes, it's always the triggers, and that's how you start shadow work right there. Okay, that's how you do it. But it's not, like I told you before, like if there's something wrong or whatever, like tell me. Like if I'm like messing up, like I want you to tell me. Like I want you to be
Mm,
like real with me. Like that's how I invite that kind of conversation, even if I don't like it or if I, whatever, like, but I want that because it helps me understand myself and grow more, right? So,
mm,
yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, like, look, like I know a small taste, very small taste within myself that I know that like what a real relationship is, and it's something. It's really something. If both
mm,
can kind of hone into it and understand that, it's not only a beautiful relationship, but it's like a long lasting relationship and
mm.
an actual one. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
because
And
like it's
yeah,
all it's,
I
yeah.
think that takes a lot of work.
Yes. I mean,
Mm,
not to be hopeless, but yeah.
yeah. No, I really like the aspect of triggering. I mean, we saw a lot of that on our our last video.
Oh, geez. Yes. Triggers. So yeah, you
But
know what? Hey,
it's
look, triggers
it's
are
crazy
good.
because, I genuinely do believe, because I've experienced this myself as well, is that if something really triggers you on that level where it actually creates like an emotion of fear or anger or frustration, if something's triggering you, then that in itself is a lesson for you, because you have to ask yourself, why is this triggering you so much? Because there's an aspect of your shadow that's trying to hide from it, and it's
Yeah.
creating like this bubble of resistance and this energy of like chaos inside of you. And this has been like one of the biggest parts of my own shadow work, because there's been things that have been triggering me lately, like in my immediate life,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
relationships and friends, family, whatever. And I think about it and I can feel like this internal anger and like these thoughts coming about. And I've had to really hone in on that and step back and ask myself the hard questions. And it's actually magical, because when you are able to identify a trigger or
Yeah.
something that pissed you off, and you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why is this making me so angry? The universe will literally show you why that's making you angry. And this is how I've been doing my shadow work recently. And I've realized that a lot of my triggers come from like my inner child, being
Mm.
frustrated and suppressed and being traumatized by like all these different events in my life. And so then I'm able to think, okay, that's really interesting. And then you can transmute it into something different, transmute it into the opposite, or at least know that that is a trigger for you, and realize that you can send love to that aspect of yourself, or send love to the aspect of your life or your upbringing. And honestly, that's probably been like my most powerful shadow work that I've done recently. Um, and it's funny because even when I was studying the freedom teachings, sorry to bring this up
Mm.
again, but since I was studying the
Yeah.
freedom teachings, and like I did so much flame body, shadow, all the shadow techniques. I did so much flame
Yeah.
body, as you know, for like quite a long time. And throughout that whole time, I never ever had like powerful experiences like I'm having now, by guiding my own shadow work and connecting to
Yeah.
my higher self and asking myself the hard questions. And I feel like it's just been a catalyst to everything else in my life, because not only has that shown me the dark parts or the hidden parts of myself, but it's also like made me so much more compassionate for other people. Honestly, like it's made me feel so much more compassionate. It's brought out so much love, because now I see parts of that or parts of myself in other people and how they
Right.
might be acting at the time, and I feel like I can understand others so much better, and that it all intertwines with like the compassion and the love aspect of it.
Mm.
Mm.
Freedom teachings. They always come up all the time. So
Well, I mean, it was a big part of of my life, right?
yeah.
But now I'm just comparing everything now. I'm thinking, wow, it's like everything is really just from us, all the most powerful meditations, the most powerful realizations and lessons that I've had have been literally with myself,
Yeah.
and things that have been self-guided and have come from like my natural core essence as opposed to something else.
Right. So and that's the thing, like these kind of teachings or whatever, like they almost act like a distraction, right? It's like, hey, like, do you want to clear your like, whatever shadow, like do this technique and do this and that, but like they don't teach you or tell you to like really look inside, and we'll and you know what I'm saying? Like do the real shadow work. It's more like, hey, do this magical little thing and then like you feel better, right? So like I mean, and
Yeah,
and
like band-aid therapy.
exactly, yeah. So, and then sometimes like the real lessons, that are in their freedom teachings, like people are not actually like, doing them, right? Like, being judgmental and stuff and all that. So it's like, I don't know. That's why I never really attach myself to like specific teachings and stuff, because it's like, I mean, that's great and all. Like I can believe me, I have an active imagination. I can go in my head and like be in fantasy world all I want, honestly. And I'm happy there.
Yeah.
But like that's not why I'm here. Like I'm not here to imagine the next world. I know the next world. I'm here to live this world because I'm here to do something, right? To
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 make a
to
change.
to make a change, to find myself in that change and to connect with
Mhm.
others and bring that about, right? So, you know,
So what has been some of, if you don't mind me asking, what has been some of the methods or techniques that you've incorporated into your life recently, which you feel have made like a really big change?
oh man. What haven't I done? I
Put
don't
you on the
know.
spot.
Put him a spot. Yeah. Well, I think it's important really to always pull in your energy. So like if things are really chaotic, first of all, whether it be like, on social media, on the news or whatever, you always have to find your center and like wherever that is for you, like that's important. Whether it be like, connecting with people that are really good people, right? And that will, their conversations will help you somehow ground and like look within, fine. Sometimes it's solitude, right? Sometimes being by yourself is really healing, right? Really centering. So I think is finding your center is very important, wherever that is. For me, a lot of times is, connecting with, like literally like nature, like going out, touching grass, right? Like stuff like that, like or a good conversation with a friend. I feel like just I that's my biggest thing. It's like I I go out to connect with myself, not to like forget about myself, right? Because a lot of people want to escape the reality. I don't. So like, don't escape your reality. Like, look for it. Um, so that's like the first part I would say. Um, because a lot of people just act, just out of just this really unaligned place, and they just rage out on everyone and like act a certain way or project, right, their emotions and feelings because they have it all bottled up. So just like you gotta make sure that you're centered and you release that in a healthy way, and so that's been a big part of my, I guess, so far recently, just like knowing, I guess what like not what to say, but like just kind of like being careful with that, right? It's like what's speaking through me? Is it really my authentic self, or is it like it's coming from somewhere else, kind of thing, right? That's where I'm at right now, right? But I don't know. It's not that complicated, Like I said, just go out. If you're feeling all like either depressed or angry or whatever, just take some time to just step out and just chill out for a little bit, like taking some fresh air and like go to the ocean or something, if you have a forest, whatever, right? It's really simple. Like people really just they want to sit there and meditate and do like 1,000 techniques or like look at some freaking mandala or something. Like, I mean, that's great. If that really helps you, cool. But there's no real magic way to do it. You just find your way, right? So
Yeah, I believe everyone has their own way as well, but you mentioned something about figuring out what's yours and what isn't. So is there a way that you discern within your own self, like what truly is yours and what could potentially be coming from outside?
yeah. So a lot of times is like reactivity. So like when you react to something is oftentimes like that trigger point. And um it's good to pull back in that moment a little bit, especially if it's like really charged energy, you know, whether it be like a really just like like not angry, but like a really emotionally charged energy. I would say kind of take a step back before you do or say anything, because oftentimes it's not really coming from like that deep sense of authenticity. So I would
Mhm.
say start from there, like reactivity. So if you're reacting to someone or something, like that's your cue right there. That's your cue.
Mhm.
And then from there, it's like, why did I react, or why am I feeling this way, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And do you feel like you're sensitive to your environment as well? So if you do you feel like if you're around like certain energies or around chaos, do you feel that around you, and do you feel like that affects like your mood as well?
Personally, I mean, it can, but I actually it takes a lot for me to really absorb others' energies. I would have to like essentially welcome them into like my field.
Mm.
So it would
Mm.
if I do, it would be someone that I have some kind of like vulnerable like connection with.
Mm.
That's kind of a trigger point for me. Like it's someone that I allowed them into my space, and then
Mm.
and then we share energies, right? Um,
Mm.
but strangers or like in the crowds, not really. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So another question that I wanted to ask you as well,
Sure.
which was a subject that obviously has been around us and has been a huge subject over the
Okay.
last couple of years, especially in my life and in your life as well, because I do know that you quite relate to the concept in your own way. But
Yes.
what is your opinion on the meaning of indigos?
Good. Um, okay, so
What do you believe an indigo really is? Because it's a bit of a buzzword in the new age, but also in the freedom teachings, it's depicted very differently. It's explained in conjunction with certain DNA templates and things like that. But I want to know what your belief is now that you've
yeah.
experienced all sides.
Well, one thing I have to admit and be honest with you is that I mean, I found the book definition that the New Age gave us okay, but it
Mm,
wasn't something that I was attached to. And I felt like I was like, am I even an indigo? Because I don't feel this crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like it, and it's like I I was like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And then you have like indigo one, two, three. I'm like, what's going on here? Like it's just getting out of control. So I think book definition of it, I don't, it doesn't resonate with me. Um, but then again, I think to your point, indigo has a deeper meaning than that, right? If you look at like the word indigo, right, and it's really similar to the word indigenous, right? And now, I'm not sure about others, right? As far as me and you go, right? We have indigenous in us, you can say, right? And I really felt in touch with that. Even recently in the last probably maybe 10 years. I view my indigenous roots with respect, right? And with honor and love. And I think if anything, I think indigo means indigenous. And it's something that I think I have to give you the flowers because you actually put me onto this because it was something that you let me know, right? And when you told me that,
mm.
it
Something
really
clicked.
it clicked, and I was like, yes, this is
Well, I
what
mean, even the word
yeah,
indigo, it's just like a shorter version of the word indigenous, right? But
yes, and in Spanish,
it
indigenos, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, and that's when I was like, yes, this is this is what I feel connected to, right?
Mm, hmm.
And when you look at it that way, it's like the indigos are the indigenous of Mother Earth, right? And are the protectors of Mother Earth. They're the ones that are from the original source, which is Mother Earth, right?
Hmm.
So yes, like I feel like that's the real meaning of it. I completely like reject the other meanings that like they're giving it, right? And I feel like that's where the real power is. So yes, in that sense, I'm an indigo. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting because if you actually look up the etymology of the word indigenous, it actually means the beginning. It means
Hmm.
birth, rebirth, and the original ones. So
Yes.
that's the actual etymology of the word indigenous, right? And um, you know, there's a lot of people that relate to the concept of the freedom teachings of Indigo 1, Indigo 2, Indigo 3. But at the same time, once again, I feel like those are labels that are kind of like separating people into different type of boxes. I do
Yes.
believe that I do believe that there's a lot of truth to the DNA thing. I do believe that we have more than just two strands of DNA. Obviously, I believe that we could
Yeah, of
potentially have
course.
more crystalline structured DNA or etheric DNA, however, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I believe that there is a big truth to that. And I believe that the original ones, the indigos, the indigenous, I believe that these people are on Earth now. And I believe that they are the ones who are truly bringing forth like the real ancient wisdom, who are bringing forth, the native realization of our true reality, which actually
Yeah.
extends way outside what we understand on Earth. You know, it extends
Yeah.
far beyond the cosmos, far beyond anything that we can even comprehend really in our human brains. And I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at some of the Indigo, aka indigenous people live even
Mm.
on planet Earth, you know, they're very much people that are connected to Mother Earth, and they're just naturally connected to the spirit.
Hmm.
And I believe that's how simple it is. You know, when you're really connected to your spirit, when you're connected to Mother Earth, when you're connected to the soul, and you understand all living things, I think that's the real shift. You know, I think that's the love that we really need to find.
Well, see, like the Indigos never left though. They always been
Mm,
here.
yeah.
They're just finding their way back home. That's it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And we ventured far out and we got lost, and now we're finding our way back, and here we are, right? And this is a call of the Indigos, like coming back to source and actually, being the love that they are, right? And teaching that, um, you know, protecting one another, right? And just I think is the vibration of not only love but also the vibration of unity, right?
Mhm.
Between all of us. And yeah, I mean that's what I stand for. That's what I will die for, actually. So that's something I really am strong about. And something that I don't care, I mean, it'd be great if one day, right, like you make your life around this, but I mean, like this is what I will live for. Like, I don't care if it doesn't make money or not make money, or if I can do this and that. Like, this is my purpose, right? Is a calling, and this is why I'm here. This is why all the connections were like made, right? But yeah, I mean, that's like I said, in that sense, both you and I are indigos, the real indigos. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with everything that you said. And we also had a conversation that related to this similarly as well, and the concept of ascension and essentially how that has been recreated, and the concept has been basically abused now within this new age or just the whole spiritual paradigms,
Hmm.
even throughout like most religions and the freedom teachings and new age spirituality. It's like, what is the one common theme that people aspire towards, or that people believe in, or that people really, really want, right? It's the concept of escapism. It's like
Mm.
wanting to escape Earth, wanting to
Ah,
ascend and go
yes.
somewhere better, you know, wanting to just leave this place behind and
Evac.
yeah, like the evacuation concept, everything like
Yeah.
that. It's and you know, I shared my
Yeah.
experience with you that I had with Mother Earth, because when I
Yeah.
tuned into this, I honestly felt like a very deep sadness from Mother Earth, because
Yeah.
you know, we're technically supposed to be here to help the earth and help people and you know, assist one another, and like you said, be in unity and heal together, because when we heal with it, we are then able to heal the earth and able to heal others. But you
Yes.
know, unfortunately, there's so much of this happening now with, you know, through every single paradigm and throughout spirituality and religion. It's like people are just waiting to die, people are just waiting to ascend, people are waiting for an evacuation, people are
Get
wanting
me
to
out of here. Beam
but
me up. Like, let's,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like
that's a
it's
common
just
theme. Yeah.
yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Like how do you feel about that concept?
I think it's really messed up because I think I told you before, I've had this like vision where, yeah, Mother Earth it is essentially she's sad. She's going through a lot of pain because there's a lot of just shit going on. And, to think that we want to abandon Mother Earth is really heartbreaking. Um, because that's our home, right? That's where we come from. And, when we leave the home, everything falls apart, right?
Mm,
So, yeah, I think really great point you're making, because in the new age now, it's like, oh, like let's get out of here. Let's go to the fifth. Let's go to this and that, right? And that's what they're teaching people a lot. And I think it's completely the opposite. It's like we're supposed to be here helping Mother Earth,
mm.
right? Not leaving her,
Grounded.
grounded, and help her ascend, right? Like help everything like rise up, right? Not just like
Hmm.
leave it. Like even in a sense, and the third in the 3D world, right? Even Elon Musk is like, oh, like let's go to Mars, right? And it's like,
Mm.
right, like
Everything's about
it's
leaving.
about leaving. It's like let's leave Earth and go populate this other place and make it better over there. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
been oh, that's a conversation the entire time right now. But that's
Mm-hmm.
it's completely the opposite of what they're telling you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I had this analogy come through in my own mind when I was thinking about this whole concept. And in real life, like in the 3D world, this would never fucking happen. So can you
Mm-mm.
imagine that like me and you are our family and we live with our family and we bought a house and we have this beautiful house, there's
Yes.
love and there's unity and there's family. And
Harmony. Yeah.
then some random outsiders come into our house, they raid the place, they rape our children, they take everything from us, and we're just like supposed to just allow them to do that. In the real world, that would never fucking happen. You know what I
No.
mean? You would protect your children, you would protect your house, you would tell these invaders to fuck off, and you would
Yeah.
take back your house and you would take back what's yours. Now, if we look at this from a wider perspective, a lot of people understand that this place is controlled by, dark factions, dark entities. I'm not going to say names, obviously, for algorithm purposes.
Hmm.
But, like we are just here wanting to escape. A lot of us aren't doing the real work. A lot of us aren't really integrated or grounded in the experience because we just want to leave. So
Yeah.
therefore, like everyone's just abandoning the house that's falling. So
Yep.
when we're supposed to be like in the house, rebuilding it and actually telling the people that are taking
Yes.
our house away from us and raping our children and killing our children to technically fuck off because this is our house, like this is our land. So it brings about some passion inside of me because it makes me a little bit frustrated with the way that things are going. And once again, I think this is why you and I have been called to share this. And I know that many
Yeah.
people feel the way that we feel.
It's really heartbreaking, even from the sense of us, because what are we without our home, right?
Mm,
We're looking for ourselves elsewhere. We're lost. We're trying to find out who we are, right?
mm,
And we wouldn't have to do that if we never left home, right?
mm,
So yeah, and to your point, that trauma of, of the home being essentially broken into and destroyed has already happened before.
mm,
And this is what we're healing from, and what we're fighting for is that is taking
mm,
back that home and rebuilding it
mm,
and fighting for it,
mm.
not allowing anything that doesn't belong there to get in there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and I think that this is part of the fire, that has been coming back within
Hmm.
me and within you and many other
Yes.
people as well, is that
Yeah.
we are getting our power back and we are remembering, we are awakening, on so many different levels. But even that word awakening has just been used and abused. I don't like to use it much, but that's
Yeah.
essentially what's happening, like on a spiritual level. It's like we're just remembering. We're remembering who we
Remembering.
are. We're
Yes.
remembering why we came here. We're remembering what we need to do. And this is the one thing that actually resonates with me, like on truly a soul level, is that we are here not to escape, not to ascend and run away and go to a better
Nope.
earth, go to a better place. We are here to help this one and rebuild our lovely home that was
Yeah.
once ours, that was once at peace, that was once part of humanity where we were all co-creative together and in unity. And
Yes.
this is with a vision that I would
Yeah.
love to manifest
Correct. Yeah. We're
together.
trying to be something that we're not instead of being what we are, right?
Hmm.
So yes, I really like highly agree with you. There's so much passion within me too, and so much fire. So when you told me about that meaning of indigo, it was like you like reawakened something in me. I was like, holy shit, like this is what it is. Like this is why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for that. Like, see, look, I'm telling you, we need women. Like, 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 like I could be magical, whatever, but like women just have this innate like understanding and like intuition. And that's very respectable and honorable. And us men need that. Like we need that. Like see, like that's what you guys bring, and then men can just take it and like go with it. Like, okay, yeah, this is what it,
Mm.
right? And then really
Yeah, that's right.
co-create together, right? And
Hmm.
that is a magic, right? That's a magic.
Yeah, because women are kind of like the intuitive like we have the intuition, we nurture and we have the ideas, but men are like the builders, right? And they make things
Yes.
happen.
The actual
And
builders. Yeah.
the actual builders, yeah. And that's why it works, and that's something that so many people need to realize, both men and women. It's like we need to stop fighting each other. We need to stop hating each other. We need to realize that there's external forces, external programs here that are hell-bent on separating
Yes.
us, that want
Correct.
to divide us. And we aren't divided because we are part of each other. We have these energies
Yes.
inside of us, like masculine and
Yes.
feminine, but only together can we really co-create because yeah, like nobody wants to do this shit alone.
No. And we
Like
shouldn't have to.
we
We shouldn't have
yeah,
to.
we shouldn't have to. Like that's the whole reason as to why we're here. But I definitely feel the shifts happening. I definitely feel really positive about everything.
Yeah.
Um, in the group chat earlier, I said something along the lines of we are still going to have to, on some level, experience all the timelines because there's a lot of timelines that have been created from fear, from desperation, from
Mhm.
ego, and things like that. And people have created them because I've thought about them. If you thought it, you bought it. If you thought it, you created it. That's one of my
I
sayings.
like that. I like that. You should
So, you
copyright
have
that.
to, yeah. So you have to, yeah. So we are going to see things go on in the world that are negative and that seem to be dark, but at the same time, they're going to come as quickly as
Yeah.
they go. You know what I mean? And I think that this is one of the things that people need to realize is that we are the builders and the creators and the designers of our own reality.
Correct.
And we really need to hone in on that power and realize that it's up to us because we're the ones that have the energy. We're the ones that are connected to source. We're the
Yeah.
ones that have the infinite, eternal connections to ourselves and to earth and to source. So therefore, why are we being suppressed? Why are we complying to bullshit? Why do we keep on perpetuating the patterns of trauma and fear? Like that's not who we are at the core.
Right. Yeah. And when you understand that most of that is like self-perpetuated, it's like you get upset at yourself at that point. You're like, man, like I held myself back in life. That's fucked up. Like, why? Why did I do that? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
wow, this is
it's
a
all a
feel like
learning curve.
it's really is a learning curve, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here on the earth because the earth is like a school, right? This is a place where everything comes down and it's manifested so we can actually see it and
Mhm.
evolve from it. That's why we're here, right? So stop escaping earth. How about like you become it and you become friends with it and it will work in your favor, right?
Mm,
So yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
I love that. Well, I feel like we've actually yeah, covered a lot today. I feel like it's been really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it really has. Yeah. I think it's a lot to think about for people and to also reflect on. And, it's just, and what I like about it more is that it's not really focused on like a specific, spiritual teaching or like a modality or anything. It's more like just honestly, just, I think, wisdom, right? Like just original, authentic wisdom that both you and I so far have learned and have to a point integrated in our lives. And we're just sharing that with others. And that's what it's all about. That's why I don't
Yeah.
anchor myself in anything. It's just like you have the answers, the knowledge is within you. So find it within you. So,
Definitely. Yeah, it's about anchoring more of your own light and more of yourself into the experience and discovering yourself because that's what I feel is like the big bang that happens from within. You know
that's
what I
the real
mean?
reason why you stepped away from the freedom teachings because it wasn't real. I mean, yeah, the inconsistency is
Mm,
sure, but it's
yeah.
this realization that made you do this. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
mhm.
And I mean, like, look, I logicized all of the inconsistencies and everything like that. But even then, it's not something that you can really like teach or explain to people. They need to realize it and have the
Yes,
awakening on their own. You know what
correct.
I mean? Because everything can be justified, everything can be technically viewed from many different perspectives, but it comes down to the person to realize and find their own power,
Yeah.
and the meditations that I had with myself surrounding all of that basically just went down to the fact that um my higher mind or my higher self, whatever it is, like the less egoic part of myself, the
Yeah.
messages that came through were literally about the fact that that is part of the journey, and it was part of the journey, and it was part of like experiencing something that potentially led me to where I am now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I've also integrated all of the freedom teachings. And I mean, like, as you know, I went through so many different teachings even before that, like all through New Age spirituality, like
Yeah.
Kabbalism, Hermetics, everything,
Yes.
so many different beliefs. And those are all parts of myself that I can now understand, so I can have conversations with other people and understand how they view reality. And sometimes people need to attach themselves to a belief in order to find themselves at a different spot. You know what I mean? Because that's what happened to me. So I have
Yeah.
all of the faith in the world that it's not the be all end all, that a lot of people are going to have those realizations as well. And I mean, if you feel the energy on the earth right now, if you feel
Hmm.
like the frequency on this planet right now, it's very, very high. There's a lot of energy running right now through the planetary grids and just people in
Yeah.
general. And there's people that are having like realizations left, right, and center. So many people still waking up. So many of the indigos or the indigenous
Yes.
are speaking out and
Hmm.
finding their power, finding themselves. So yeah, I think it's just all part of the transition. And all we need to do is, yeah, like you said, be integrated in ourselves, be grounded, be
Hmm.
connected, and go within and ask yourself the question.
Yeah. See, wow. That was so well spoken again, so eloquent. And in conclusion, that is the conclusion right there. Um, I
Yeah.
think since I think people like our videos. I would hope so. And I
Lovely.
think that we should do this more often, right?
Mm,
Well, not so often, but like, more of a thing, right?
mm,
Because I think now more than ever, people need real voices out there. And I mean, you've seen on either TikTok or whatever, like it's really far in between when you really find a voice of like truth and wisdom. There's a lot
mm.
of confusion right now going on, right? And a lot of deception. And
There's
I
a lot
feel
of
like
monetizing the experience as
that
well,
too.
which we've already
Right.
spoken about.
Right.
And that takes away the authenticity from it, because
Yeah.
you can't call yourself like a real I guess spiritual being on like the journey to enlightenment, but tell people, oh, I can't give you this information unless you pay me a
Right.
hundred bucks for it.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly. And we're not charging like, anything for this. This is like absolutely free, right? I mean, look, if we one day make it, cool, right, whatever. But like we're not like, hey, like buy our books or buy our, like our Patreon, like we're not doing that, right? Like this should be
no.
free and available to everybody because that's how it was brought to me. I didn't have to pay my
Yeah.
higher self anything, you know. Maybe a bad experience or two, but not, I didn't have to fight for it. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the whole point about why we're here as well. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Is to learn and evolve and gain that wisdom and then share it with others from like an authentic, down to earth, loving from a loving source, you know what I mean? Just from love, really, because yeah, I think that's what makes it real. You know what I mean?
yes,
We're not withholding knowledge, wisdom, and information from people because for monetary purposes. It's like we're just giving it and we're sharing our ideas because we truly feel passionate about them.
yeah,
And it's also fun for us. I mean, like
yes.
these conversations that we have are really, yeah, they make me feel alive. They ignite
Oh,
something within me. They make me feel
thank you.
creative. And I'm sure you
Likewise.
similarly
Yeah.
as well. So it's not.
Like it lights my fire within. Like that's how I
Mm,
feel. And that's why like I get excited. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Like so thank you so much for sitting down with me and and me with you in this space, which I
mm,
really find really sacred, by the way. And I really respect and honor it, and I love it. I think it's great. And
Yeah, me too.
thank you so much for everything you bring. All right. And with that said, if you do like the video, please like it, share it, whatever. But thank you for sitting with us. And until next time, all right. And we're
Yes.
checking out. Thanks.
Thank you. Until next time.
Bye.